Welcome everybody to this week's podcast. Today, what's our topic for today, everyone? What are we going to talk about? Come on, Brad,
you got to tell who's here first, because not everybody is listening visually. So today you have the amazing Steve, the wonderful Bradley, and of course me, Janine.
Just Janine.
Just Janine.
So will we get Brad to start it because he knows what he's doing?
Yeah, let's get Brad to start it.
Go, Brad. Yeah. You've done a lot more of these than I have. I've no idea. I didn't realize it was just audio as well.
No. Some people do watch this on YouTube. So, hello. The vast majority it's audio only. But yeah, no, today we're going to have a discussion centered around, who our competition is. And I'm sure we're going to have a really interesting clickbaity title. And, to hopefully not pull you in to listen to this. And you might be thinking that it's a photographer down the road, who gives gives all the photographs away free on a disc or a USB. It isn't. That's not what we're going to be talking about. So the enemy, or is it really an enemy to photography? But the industry that's probably taking the disposable income away from your pockets, away from your business's pockets, is normally the travel industry. Or not just the travel industry, but any other industry that people want to spend disposable income on. That's your enemy. That's what you're up against. That's who you're fighting. You're not fighting other photographers. If there were more photographers in the world, photographing more people, and there were more marketing centered around it, then that would only create more demand for us. So more photographers just means more opportunities for us. That photographer down the street isn't your enemy. So Steve, tell us why travel agents are the devil.
Well, I wouldn't call them the devil.
Oh, that's a great clickbaity title for the podcast.
Isn't it our perception of the travel agents? Because I've had so many people come to me and say, I need help. In my area, most people don't have money. And then I'll say, well, let's start marketing and let's start doing something. And a lot of people will say to me that we can't do it this month because most of my clients are away on holidays. Or there's certain times of the year that they don't want to market because they know that their clients are on holidays. And that just says to me that their clients do have money, because people who are traveling and will take their family on holidays have disposable income to spend on entertainment, to spend on travel. And that's why the travel industry, for me, seems to be our biggest competition, because they're looking for the same type of clients as we are to spend money on what they do. Meanwhile, we're trying to pull them in and get them to spend money on what we do. So here you go. Janine, what's your take?
No, I completely agree. Look, I live 45 minutes from vacation capital of the world. Well, first of all, I live in Florida, right? So, every day is a vacation here, right? It's a nice day, you head off to the beach. But we live 45 minutes from Disney, an hour with traffic, And so while one might think you can just go off to Disney anytime, and if you're a season pass holder, it's not really that expensive or doesn't cost a lot of money, but it is. Anytime a family heads over to the Mouse for a day, we're talking hundreds, if not over $1,000, easily.
Well, I'm not going to tell you how much taking my kids to Disney cost me.
Well, yeah, if you factor in
we've got flights, we've got accommodation,
we've got all of that. It's insane. I'm heading. We have one of our members is coming to Orlando. Claire is coming at the end of May, and so they're coming for 2 weeks. I can only imagine what it's going to be. And Brad, you come every year. But for me to go over for 2 days, I'm already budgeting probably $2,000 to $3,000 to eat well. Because when you're on vacation, you spend money on food that you wouldn't normally spend. Your kids want souvenirs. Like even my kids, hello, again, 45 minutes away. But every time we go, they have to have something. Mommy, buy me this. Mommy, buy me that. And so you're in a happy mood. And when you're in a happy mood, you're spending freely.
Yeah.
And of course for me, I'm over there spending I can use that as a prop in the studio. So, my budget in the studio goes out the window that day too. So
you're just trying to justify spending money, Janine.
I do justify spending money. I do, because I look, I'm like, oh, look, if I buy this, I can make money from it. So I justify the purchase that way. But I know you would love to talk about justifying purchases later on in this podcast, Steve. So we'll leave that. We'll tee you up for that event. But no, I mean, being this close to Disney, it is something I hear very often. And I think it's a very real example for people to have. Because we get it all the time. Well, for our child's birth, because we photograph milestones a lot, right? Babies' milestones, first birthdays, toddler birthdays. And so oftentimes we'll hear, well, we don't have a lot of money to spend on portraits because we're taking the whole family to Disney.
Wow. Well, that only means that they do have money.
It does mean they have money, doesn't it, Steve? Because they couldn't go to Disney if they were impoverished.
That's right. And they're just choosing to spend it on what they think is valuable to them. And this is why we're teaching how to increase the value of what we do and increase people's perception of their value of their relationships. And so
I think that's why, Steve,
then that'll shift.
That they're our same clients, because those are our clients. If they value traveling with their family, they value creating memories and moments and experiences with their family, that's our client. That's who we want.
Yeah.
They value their family.
Yeah. And they're willing, and they have the surplus income or the disposable income to take them on a holiday and to spend that on those memories and those moments where they're spending time together and valuing each other. So, but you don't have Disney close to you, Bradley. You have to travel for that, don't you?
Yeah, no, it takes me a while to get to Disney, which is a real shame. To be on Disney's doorstep. To live in Florida would be the dream, really, isn't it? That's the dream right there.
That's why we are overpopulated at the moment.
Yeah, no, it is, yeah. Oh, well. You could do with a few more Brits in Florida.
A bit of sanity. So,
Steve, if we're asked, so how do we discuss this then? Because if our client is the client that is going to go on holiday because of what they value and the disposable income they have, how do we compete with that money? How do we compete with that disposable income? Do we, or do we is this something that we do?
Well, I think it's a mindset to start with. I think a lot of people buy into the "we don't have any money" statement because we're traveling, we're going to Disney, we're going to whatever. These people have disposable income if they're traveling. And so I think the first thing is mindset. We should go, oh, okay, now this is the challenge, right? Yes, they're going to Disney, but this to me means that I have a viable client. I have somebody who has the money to spend with me. I just have to prove to them that what I'm giving them is really valuable and that they should apportion some of that money because they won't need all of it to having a portrait experience, because there are people that spend $10, $15, $20, $30,000 every time they go on a holiday, and they do it repeatedly. I had a friend tell me that they clocked up 20 grand going to Paris. And we're not, well, they're allowed to spend 20 grand with us, but if we get two, that's great, right? So didn't you have a client that told you that you must get loads of clients telling you that they're going to Disney?
I do.
How do you combat that?
Yeah, we have one recently.
So tell us the story.
We photographed the baby session, and in between the time that we photographed the session, we did not have an instant view for a specific reason. We don't need to go into it. But between the time that they photographed the session and came back, they decided that they were going, and it was only 3 days, mind you. This is the danger of sending people away, right? They decided they were going to take the entire family to Disney for the weekend to do a bigger celebration than they originally planned. So she called us and said, hey, I still want to come in to view and order my portraits, but just to let you know, I don't have any money to spend because we've decided to take the whole family, grandparents, cousins, and whatever, and we're going to pay for it for everybody to go to Disney for the birthday. And so my studio coordinator, she said, please come in anyways. Like, Janine would love to meet with you. We want you to see your portraits, and Janine will help you figure out what it is that you want to do now. Okay. So she came in, she met with me, and we had a fantastic conversation. I mean, I me, Disney is my brand, right? They're the brand that I love to model things after. So anybody who loves Disney, I always love having, like, I was talking with her about what they're going to do and what they're, so we had a great conversation. We really clicked on
So you turned on the Disney magic, Janine.
Turned on the Disney magic. I did indeed. And talked about, as she's looking at her portrait, she's falling in love with her baby again, which is often what happens when people see their portraits.
Yeah.
And so, like, I could see in her eyes, she wanted them now. She didn't want to wait. But she did mention it again. She's like, so how can I just get 2 or 3 now and come back in a month when I have money again after recovering from the vacation, the trip, to buy more? Well, as you guys know, I mean, once people go away, again, like, especially for that, it's hard to get them back. They'd be satisfied with the 3 or so images, and that would be difficult. So,
and once they've seen the slideshow, and if they didn't order, some people would be satisfied with that because they've seen the photographs.
Yeah.
Right.
So I had a very honest conversation with her, and I was like, listen, I said, there's nothing saying you have to pay for it all right now. Who said that? I didn't say that. So why don't we figure out everything that you love, what it is that you would like, and we'll write up the order and put it on your payment plan. You pay for it over 6 months. How does that sound? And she's like, oh my gosh, you do that? I'm like, yes, of course.
That's amazing. And so she
did. She ordered everything she wanted, and we put her on a payment plan. And then here's the funniest thing is I presented to her, I don't think I even told you this part. I presented her, like, this is what it'll be, monthly payments over 6 months. And she's like, well, what if I just give you half now? And then and I'm like, okay. So, I mean, right? Like, clearly. And so I think sometimes photographers, and I fall to this too, Steve. I'm not like trying to.
It's not just photographers. It's everyone.
Everyone.
It's every industry.
You listen to the first objection and you take it because you're expecting it. You're expecting people to say they don't have money. You're expecting people to tell you they've chosen something over you. And so you just allow it. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. Instead of offering up an alternative.
It's almost like it must be true. I saw it on Facebook. It must
be true.
But it's so true. I think a lot of people, when clients come to us and give us a start-off objection, it's how they start the conversation. We hold on to that and see that as the wall rather than get excited over a new challenge that you have to win. And so I think that a lot of the times we need to sort of understand our clients and understand and realize, okay, well, this person must have some sort of money. And she offered to pay half. How awesome is that, Janine? That's great.
I know, it was fantastic. And
so you got lots of people coming to Disney. Do you, you must get this a lot. Do you get a lot of people that are tourists? Are you capturing a tourist market as well?
We're too far away for that. We're not in the tourist area. We're not in Orlando. We're over in Tampa.
Right. Okay. So it's not a, you're not directly competing while people are there.
No.
Oh, right. Okay.
But don't think I haven't thought about setting up a little shop in one of those hotels.
That could be fun.
It could be.
That could be fun. So what's your take on all of this, Bradley?
So my immediate thought is probably indifference is my immediate thought.
Right.
Probably because I've been told that often that I don't think I particularly care. They're either being honest in the moment and they don't have the money, which is if that's the case, that's fine. I'll book somebody else in. You know, I'm not, doesn't upset me, doesn't worry me. Or they just don't see the value just yet. And then when they do see the value, they spend. Yeah. That's happened countless times in the studio, especially back in the day when we used to do separate day design consultations. Separate day shooting and design consultations.
Because, is that happening more then?
In those days, technically, yes. Because they come to the studio, they go away with the product guide. At that point, then, instead of doing everything in one go, we gave them the opportunity to second guess or bring logic into it. And I had many, many phone calls over years of people saying, hey, we had a wonderful time. It doesn't really fit our budget. We don't think we're going to come back to purchase. Just kind of like what Janine had. Or we might come back to purchase, but we might only get a few things. And again, just like Janine said, that's completely fine. I've never not turned anybody away because they've said that. I've always wanted them to come. And even if that resulted in us having a no sale, as long as that client had a wonderful time and they had something they were happy with, I've always been happy with that. And again, 9 times out of 10, they come, they love their photographs, they find the cash.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people have access to some cash, whether that be, another family member, their partner, or a credit card. Generally, we have access to cash. And when some people say that they can't afford something and don't have the money, they're telling you the truth, or they just, again, they don't see the value, so they pretend and put a wall up.
They don't see the value yet.
Yeah. And that happens all the time. It was, it's hard selling photography. That's why I suppose, we tend to not sell photography anymore. But, in the olden days, 8 years ago, that's the olden days for me.
God, I'm old then. I'm truly old then.
My olden days.
Today is 8. That's James's birthday. He's 8 years old today. So that's his
I remember being 8. I remember being 8. I liked Beyblades when I was 8. I don't know if Beyblades are a thing anymore, but Beyblades were great. There's a listener who knows what Beyblades are. I hope they do. But I was obsessed. Anyway, I've lost my train of thought. So I used to have loads of conversations with people who told me that they can't, they don't have the cash, they can't afford it, and that always turned out to not be the case. They have to value it. But again, in the olden days, operating the studio, that would happen more because we photographed more people. We were a much bigger volume-based studio back then. So the more volume you have, the more conversations you're going to get, the more opportunity you're going to get to solve problems. But people don't see the value until they've had the experience. It's very hard portraying that, especially back then. It was hard to portray the value somebody would have until they're actually having that experience, which is why my mindset was so incredibly open to just let anybody in. There's a slight caveat to that, nearly everybody in, but because I knew the experience was great. And I knew that 9 times out of 10, or even higher than that, they would have a wonderful time and they would purchase. And I just needed the opportunity.
So has moving to same day reduced the number of people that, because you were saying that they would call you, they would go away, you'd give them the opportunity to think about it with a product guide, and then they would call back.
They don't have the opportunity to have that objection because it all happens on the same day.
Right. And so then you're getting more people ordering and more people finding the money then.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So I suppose in the olden days you had to do more volume to compensate for the people that were sent away and did ring up and never came back and ordered. Was there a lot? I can't imagine there'd be a lot of them.
No, it was negligible. It was maybe 1 to 2% in the year, like 1.5%. It was very, very low, to the point that it never became a really big problem, like a noticeable problem to do something about it. Because at that time, to swap from separate day viewing to same day viewing, we just couldn't do because we were too busy. We couldn't work it. We'd need another viewing room. We need another design consultation space to be able to do it, and we just didn't have that. So it was only when we dropped volume that we could do it. So yeah, but I remember all the conversations. You always remember all the conversations of people phoning up saying you're too expensive. I remember all of those. You tend to remember the negatives more than you remember the positives. I think that's just us being humans and not liking rejection or remembering rejection.
So Steve, let me ask you this question, and then I'm going to mute my mic again because it's loud back here now. So
Janine's got shoots happening in the background.
There's shoots happening in the background. There's people singing Wheels on the Bus. It's a good time.
Yeah, you saying shoot, Steve. It sounded like you said a different word.
I'm getting infiltrated, aren't I? I'm getting, I'm getting
Anyway,
adulterated.
So here's my question. So Steve, if what we're really competing against is entertainment, travel, other ways that our clients, that are our ideal clients, are spending money, right? And we've talked with Brad. He would never allow his family not to go on vacation, right? He would rather, launch a protest, and he had fun words for it. But anyways, so we're not asking them not to go on vacation, because we want them to have those shared memories and values and those moments with their kid. We're not going to deny a family their vacation time with their children. So what options do we have?
Well, I think it's about making what we do important to them. And, if we were speaking to Brad's parents and we were talking to them about what Brad means to them, and what Ruth means to them, and they were sharing what they love, I know that they would move heaven on earth for Brad. And it's not that people don't have money. In their mind, they've allocated a certain amount of money to be spent. So there's the pool, then there's the pool, and then there's a certain amount of money to be spent that's going to be put aside for something. And for them, if we make what we do important enough, and if this becomes something that matters to them, they will make sure that they can have their cake and eat it too. Or they compensate sometimes by not doing certain things on the holiday sometimes. I think for most people, it's only a psychological determined amount of money that they put aside for entertainment. Do they have extra put aside? Most people that are traveling will have access to more if they want to. Because how often have you gone on holidays, budgeted for this much, and it become that much? It happens all the time.
Stuck in that other country and without a way to get home, right?
Yeah, or there's all those extra things that you weren't anticipating. You didn't realize that you wanted to do those. There was extra, I don't know, what extra things Disney. Oh, right. I didn't know that I would want an extra $200 to spend on having my photos taken everywhere around Disney. I assumed that on our cameras, we could just take our own. And that was like an extra bit of money that I wasn't counting on. I didn't realize I had to pre-book restaurants. It was spring break and we couldn't get into any restaurants. So we pretty much had to leave the park, go to another part of town and try to find a restaurant. And usually they were, more expensive than I budgeted for, but it was big day and I didn't want to eat, and my kids didn't want to eat junky food. And so that cost us 5 times as much as we thought it would. But we do it and we spend that extra money because now that's become important. We've had a hard day and we want to eat some good food at the end of the day. That became important. Whereas before I left, I thought we could just, there'd be food everywhere. But we couldn't get anywhere near anything because it was spring break, and I don't know, what a rotten time to take your kids to Disneyland, really, from Australia. that was a uneducated choice. You should have warned me.
Know me then.
I didn't know you.
That's my opinion.
Didn't know you then. And if I had have spoken to Brad, he would have told me the same.
Yeah.
Probably didn't know Brad back then either. But
So then it's a matter of getting them to allocate. Is that what you're saying, Steve? Like, for them to think of photography as something that they wouldn't put aside, something that they would value and budget for in a way?
I think it's
Is it up to the photographer to give them a way to do that?
I think it's partly that, and I think it's partly making what we do matter more to them. Because when they come, they think they're coming for a photo. And if we give them a real experience, they're getting a lot more. And so the value of what they're getting becomes a lot more too.
Well, it's so funny. Every time they cheer for the baby in the back room, I feel like it's a laugh, like a sound, like, like we're filming in front of a live audience and people are clapping for us.
I'm turning my mute button on and hoping that the plane's going to get so past us quickly.
It's interesting, Steve. And I know we're getting close on time here, but I see this a lot in the high school senior market too. And it's not necessarily the vacation, but it's the expense of the senior year of high school. And I hear that from the parents. They have to buy the senior ring. They have to buy the prom dress. They have to do all the applications to college. They have to, like the list goes on and on and on. And so, in their minds, the child's senior year is so expensive. And now we're one more expense that gets added to that, And so it's interesting because the conversations are very much about, making this something that they, the value of what having this final portrait. Well, it's not final. It's not like a death portrait, but this final portrait of their child before they leave home, and why that's so important as.
But it's not a death portrait, but to a portrait, to a parent, it's a complete change of life, right? And it may not be a major event to us, but to that person, it's life-changing.
It is life-changing.
And so I think even just in that statement, we've trivialized something that could potentially mean something incredible to that parent, in that everything about the relationship is about to change. It's the first time that their child is going to be living away from home for an extended period of time, or sometimes the first time they're going to leave the nest. And so what we see as a football match could be the same as the Super Bowl to someone, right? Their child getting into their local grand final to that parent is as if they've just been asked to play in the Super Bowl. And we have to live up to the value of their perception of what's happening in their world right now, rather than bringing them down to how we see this event. And so it's really important that we understand this is really important. This is their last year. Their families are about to change. We need to treat it like a final portrait, because it is. It's the final portrait of that child being seen by that parent as that nested individual that they have nurtured to send out to the world.
Steve, I think we just uncovered another podcast topic.
Oh, did we? What is that?
We did. The mindset of what's going through the mind of a parent as their child is going off to college. And we need to flesh this one out, because I think this would be a great podcast topic for the future. Because I think a lot of times photographers are marketing to the wrong mindset, the wrong need, the wrong want of the parent or the child. And so I think that'd be a really interesting podcast and a topic to explore. Longer than we have in the last minute we have here.
I've got some great stories about senior photographers that I've worked with, and how changing that mindset has affected everything about their business. So it's exciting.
All right, so let's wrap this one up. So let's do a final thought from everybody. Well, you two, because I'm going to ask for the final thought, so I don't have to give one. So Brad, final thought on this topic of us competing with the travel industry and what a photographer or a difference makes.
Yeah, so what you should do is we need to form some pickets and get in front of the travel agents and just stop people from going, because if they stop, then they'd have more disposable income to spend on. No, I'm being silly again. But no, just when clients say that, they don't have the money, just learn to brush that off. Water off a duck's back. Know that you're going to hear that throughout your journey of being a photographer and being a business owner. You're going to hear that a lot, and actually know what that really means, and don't be put off by that objection, because it's not really an objection. It's just, I think, a knee-jerk thing that a lot of people say. So don't let that get in the way of your success.
Steve, how about you?
For me, when I hear our clients say that they're going on holidays or they've been on holidays, I get excited by the challenge. I know they have the money. I know that they've got to put aside. They've probably got, most people will have more than they've put aside for their holiday available. And I see that as a challenge to then make what we do important enough, make them and their relationships important enough, because I know that most people are going away on holidays to reconnect as a family. And I travel a lot, Janine, even to Disney, even to, Tampa, and I see kids in the pool and parents, the kids are yelling out, Mum, Dad, come in the pool, and Dad's on his phone, Mum's on her laptop or reading. Dad exits it saying, just 1 minute, and you don't see him for the rest of the day. Are they really getting value for money out of connecting anywhere near as much as what we can offer them if we help them reconnect as a family and give them something that matters? I see that as a challenge. And you're not going to get away with it, Janine. What's yours? What's your one big thing?
I already love what you two said, and I think those are great takeaways. So I will add in that as business owners, we have to give them the alternative solution. We have to give them the way that they can spend the money with us, and not just accept that they can't. And so make it easy. I'm all about making it easy for people to give money to the studio. Yeah. Make it easy. Don't put up another roadblock. Yeah.
And do you know what? A lot of photographers that I train, when I first suggest exactly that, their biggest objection is, but it costs 10% or it costs whatever it is. But what would have been the real cost to your business had you not offered that client the payment plan? Right? Thousands.
Yeah.
Okay, it costs 10%.
And I say that to people all the time. Like, they're like, well, what if someone doesn't follow through on the payment plan? I'm like, even if one person a year, it never happens, but let's say one person a year forfeits on their payment plan, the amount of sales that we have closed because we offer it more than makes up for it. Oh my gosh. So make it easy, and don't get rid of the fear of what comes with that. You got to look at the service you're providing your clients, but the way that you're making it easy for them to spend money with you. The easier you make it, the easier it is to overcome those objections.
Well, we need to find solutions, not look at the problems.
Yeah.
Don't we? Well, that's a wrap, right? It sounds like it's getting really fun in the background for you out there. I guess you're dying to get out there and play with the kids, Janine. So thank you, everybody, for listening. We hope to hear you on the next podcast.
Bye for now, everyone.
See you later.